Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of truth, builders of vision welcome. Today, I want to take you on a journey that challenges everything we've been taught about work, success, and purpose. This isn't another motivational pep talk. This is a reset, a rewire of your mindset. Because what if I told you the very idea of looking for a job is the very thing holding you back from your divine assignment? What if chasing paychecks is keeping you from your calling? You see, we've been conditioned to believe that our value lies in employment, that our purpose is attached to a job title, that success means climbing the corporate ladder. But that's not what God intended for your life. That's not the reason you were created. Let's break it down. From the time we're young, we're fed a script: go to school, get good grades, earn a degree, and land a stable job. If you're lucky, climb your way up the ladder. Collect titles, make money, retire. That's it. That's the loop. But here's the problem. This system is designed to make you fit into a mold, not to discover your unique purpose. And I want you to hear this. You were not made for the mold. You were made to break it. You are not a cog in a machine. You were not created to spend your life working just to survive. God did not breathe life into you so you could wake up dreading Mondays and counting the hours until Friday. You weren't designed just to exist, you were designed to serve. There's a huge difference. Working a job and living your calling are not the same thing. One is about survival, the other is about significance. When we chase jobs, we chase titles, we chase recognition. But when we pursue purpose, we chase impact. We chase transformation. We chase God's plan for our life. Look at the greats: Moses, David, Esther, Paul. None of them were applying for positions. They were called, they were chosen, they were on assignment. And that same calling is available to you. You don't need a business card to have value. You don't need a promotion to validate your purpose. You just need to hear this truth. Your calling is bigger than your career. Now, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean your current job is meaningless. In fact, the job you're in right now might be the very training ground for the calling God has placed over your life. But the moment you begin to see your work as service rather than survival, that's when everything changes. Because when you show up with purpose, you elevate everything you touch. You're no longer just a teacher. You're a builder of minds. You're no longer just a janitor, you're a guardian of space. You're no longer just a barista. You're a deliverer of comfort. It's not about what you do. It's about how and why you do it. The question isn't, what's my job? The question is, what am I called to do through this job? Let me ask you something. Do you feel restless? Do you feel like you're made for more? That itch you can't explain, the one that keeps you awake at night, that's not frustration. That's your calling trying to speak. And if you've been ignoring it, suppressing it, or convincing yourself that this is just how life is, then let me be the voice that reminds you, God didn't call you to be average. He called you to rise. That feeling of dissatisfaction you keep brushing off? That's divine discomfort. That's heaven tugging on your soul saying, you were made for more than this. You see, when you operate outside of your calling, it always feels heavy, forced, tiring. But when you step into your divine assignment, you begin to flow. Energy increases, peace increases, favor increases. But to step into that calling, you must first confront the lie that your worth is tied to your job title. You must redefine work through the lens of service and calling. Here's what that means. You no longer wake up and say, I have to go to work. You say, I get to serve today. You no longer dread tasks, you see them as opportunities to reflect excellence. You no longer work just for a paycheck, you work to fulfill purpose. And listen, I know what you might be thinking. But I don't know what my calling is yet. That's okay. Calling isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. It's that recurring thought that won't go away. It's that moment when time disappears because you're so immersed in what you're doing. It's that thing you do naturally, effortlessly, what others praise you for, even when you don't see it. That's how Noah did it. That's how you'll do it. And remember, your calling doesn't always require you to quit your job. It might just require you to change your approach to it, to show up with new eyes, to bring intention into your daily routine, to stop seeing it as a paycheck and start seeing it as a platform. Your platform is where your purpose meets people. And the more you serve through your gifts, the clearer your calling becomes. Here's the powerful part: when you serve with purpose, you attract abundance. Not just money, but peace, joy, fulfillment, favor, opportunity. The kind of abundance that doesn't come from hustle, but from alignment. When your heart, your gifts, and your service are in sync, blessings flow. And no, that doesn't mean it'll always be easy, but it will be worth it. Because nothing compares to waking up and knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you were born to do. Living not just for the next paycheck, but for the legacy you're building every single day. So today, I challenge you to stop asking, "What job should I get?" Start asking, "What calling should I answer?" Because the world needs more than employees. The world needs people walking in their God-given assignment. You were created for more. And that more begins the moment you stop looking for a job and start living your calling. Let's go deeper. Because I know what you're thinking. If I follow my calling, how do I pay the bills? What if pursuing purpose leaves me broke? Isn't chasing passion irresponsible? Let's break that myth wide open. There's a belief out there, a lie, really, that if you pursue your calling, you'll have to sacrifice success. That living a life of meaning means forfeiting financial stability. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Purpose and prosperity are not enemies. In fact, they're partners. You see, when you walk in your purpose, when you use your gifts in service of others, you step into a flow that aligns you with divine provision. God doesn't call you to something and then abandon you in the process. He equips, He provides, He makes a way. Now, does that mean it's going to be easy? No. But does it mean you'll lack? Not when you're aligned. Let's look at it this way. When you're out of alignment, working jobs that don't fit you, saying yes to things that drain you, you're constantly pushing against the current. Everything feels harder, more exhausting, less fruitful. But when you align your work with your calling, things begin to shift. Opportunities appear, resources come, doors open. Because now you're not just working, you're flowing. You've become a vessel for impact. And impact always attracts provision. That's the divine equation. When your heart is in the right place and your hands are working your gift, heaven responds. Look around. Every person who's built something that lasts, something that matters, didn't just chase money. They chased meaning, and in doing so, the money followed. Because value creates income, impact creates influence. Alignment creates abundance. Let me give it to you straight. You don't have to sacrifice purpose for prosperity. That's a lie built on scarcity. The truth is, your purpose is the most valuable thing you have. When you operate in your zone of genius, when you serve through your passion and talents, you're not just valuable, you're irreplaceable. And irreplaceable people are never out of work. So don't you dare believe that chasing your calling means living in lack. Your calling is the blueprint to a life that's not only fulfilled but favored. Now let's talk about identity, because until you know who you are, you'll keep chasing titles to feel important. But titles can be taken. Jobs can be lost. Paychecks can dry up. Your identity, that's eternal. Your worth is not tied to a position. It's not tied to what you produce. It's rooted in who God created you to be. And who are you? You are chosen. You are gifted. You are purposed. You are called to shift the atmosphere wherever you go. So whether you're managing a team or sweeping a floor, if you do it with purpose, it carries power. This is why mindset matters. Because the wrong mindset will have you believing you're just an employee, when in reality, you're a solution, a light, a force. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. And that breakthrough starts when you stop chasing validation and start walking in revelation. Revelation that your life is bigger than a resume. Revelation that you don't need permission to be powerful. Revelation that purpose isn't found, it's remembered. Because deep down, you've always known. You've known that you were built for more. That the box they tried to put you in never really fit. That the routine you're stuck in doesn't reflect the fire inside you. And that's not by accident. That's the call, that restlessness, that dissatisfaction, that ache. It's not something to numb, it's something to follow. It's the whisper of your soul saying, it's time. Time to stop settling, time to start serving. Time to turn frustration into fuel. Time to turn doubt into direction. Now hear me, this isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about shifting how you see your life today. Start where you are, use what you have, move with what you know. Clarity comes through action. Purpose reveals itself through movement. You don't have to wait for a lightning bolt moment. You just have to decide to live with intention. Decide to give your best in every task. Decide to serve where you are planted until you grow into where you're going. And along the way, you'll notice something incredible. You'll stop obsessing over outcomes. You'll stop chasing recognition. You'll stop needing applause to validate your path. Because when you're aligned with your calling, fulfillment becomes your fuel. You're not motivated by fear. You're moved by faith. You're not driven by ego. You're driven by excellence. You're not clocking in for approval. You're showing up for purpose. That's the power of alignment. It transforms everything. Even the mundane becomes meaningful. Even the ordinary becomes sacred. Even the small becomes significant. So stop measuring your impact by how important your job looks. Start measuring it by how fully you show up in service. If you bring excellence to your work, if you lead with love, move with integrity, and serve with joy, you are living your calling right where you are. And trust me, that kind of energy cannot go unnoticed. People will start asking what changed. They'll feel your shift. Because when you're aligned, everything around you begins to shift. Opportunities align. Connections align. Your energy aligns. And before you know it, you've stepped into a new dimension, not because you hustled harder, but because you finally said yes to who you really are. So what does it look like to walk in your calling? It looks like peace even in pressure. It looks like joy even when the work is hard. It looks like confidence even when the path isn't clear. It looks like freedom even in structure. And most of all, it looks like you fully alive, fully present, fully engaged in the life you were born to live. So don't wait. Don't stall. Don't shrink. Don't overthink. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the next step. Start now, serve now, show up now. Because your calling is not in the future, it's in your response to the present. And when you respond with faith, with excellence, and with purpose, the world can't help but respond back. Let's talk about something real. Fear. You felt it. We all have. That voice that creeps in when you're about to take a leap. That whisper that says, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? And here's the truth, fear isn't the enemy. Fear is a signal. It shows up when you're on the edge of expansion. It shows up when you're standing at the doorway to your calling. But the presence of fear does not mean the absence of calling. In fact, fear is often a confirmation that you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. You're leaving comfort. You're leaving the known. You're walking by faith, and let me tell you, that's exactly where God does His greatest work. You see, faith doesn't eliminate fear. Faith moves through fear. Peter didn't wait until the storm stopped to step out of the boat. He walked on water while the waves were still crashing. That's what calling feels like. You won't always feel qualified. You won't always feel ready. But if the voice calling you is from God, then trust He'll make a way. Too many people wait for clarity before they move. But the truth is, clarity follows obedience. When God gives you a nudge, when your spirit stirs, when that dream won't let you go, it's not your job to have it all figured out. It's your job to move, to take the first step. To trust that provision will meet you on the path. Because God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. And if He put it in your heart, He's already made a way through the mountain. The same God who gave you the vision will give you the strategy. But He's waiting on your yes. He's waiting on your surrender. He's waiting for you to stop trying to control every outcome and start walking in trust. Because here's the truth, playing it safe may keep you comfortable, but it will never make you come alive. Comfort zones kill callings. You weren't born to survive. You were born to build. You weren't born to settle. You were born to serve, and you weren't born to just exist. You were born to expand. So yes, fear will show up. But courage doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. It means you show up anyway. Let your fear remind you that what you're doing matters. Let it remind you that you're growing. Let it remind you that this next season is going to require more of you and bring more to you. God is stretching you for a reason, because what's coming requires the version of you on the other side of obedience. And here's the good news. You don't have to do it alone. God walks with you, guides you, shields you, provides for you. And when you trust Him, when you say yes even while your hands are shaking, He shows up in ways that will blow your mind. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Start trusting the perfect God. He's already gone before you. All He needs is your permission to move through you. And I get it, sometimes fear comes disguised as logic. It sounds like, be realistic. Play it safe, don't risk too much. But listen, faith is not logical. Faith is radical. Faith doesn't always make sense. If it did, it wouldn't be faith. If the path were obvious, you wouldn't need trust. But God calls you to walk with vision, not sight. And that vision, it's powerful, but it needs action. Because vision without movement is just a fantasy. But vision plus action equals purpose in motion. So today, I challenge you, stop entertaining fear and start activating faith. Ask yourself, what would I do if I fully trusted God? Then go do it. Take the step. Make the call, start the project. Write the message, say the prayer. Move, because purpose doesn't wait. And neither should you. Let's pivot now. Because if fear tries to stop you from starting, doubt will try to stop you from continuing. And here's the thing about doubt, it's sneaky. It doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers. You're not good enough, you're behind. Who are you to think you can do this? Sound familiar? Doubt attacks identity. Because if it can't stop your start, it will try to rob your confidence. But here's what I want you to remember. Your doubt doesn't disqualify your destiny. God knew your flaws when He called you. He factored in your weaknesses and He still said, go. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be willing. Willing to grow, willing to learn. Willing to keep showing up even when it's hard. Willing to fail forward, that's what makes the difference. Not talent, not experience, not connections, but consistency. The people who succeed, who walk in power, who leave a legacy, they're not the smartest in the room. They're the ones who kept going when it would have been easier to quit. That's the spirit God honors. That's the heart He uses. So if doubt has been circling your mind, if you've been questioning your worth, wondering if you're enough, let me remind you. You are chosen, you are called, you are capable. And even if you don't feel it yet, you're becoming it. So give yourself grace. Give yourself space to grow. You're not behind. You're building, you're not late, you're being led. You're not stuck, you're still, and sometimes God uses stillness to sharpen clarity. You're not failing, you're forging something eternal. And even in your uncertainty, God is faithful. So instead of doubting yourself, start reminding yourself. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself what you've already overcome. Remind yourself of the promises spoken over your life. And then get up and keep going, because the enemy of your calling isn't failure. It's fatigue. It's giving up before the breakthrough. But not you, not this time. You've come too far. You've grown too much. You've heard the call to clearly. You are not going back. Not to small thinking, not to playing safe. Not to shrinking your vision to make others comfortable. This is the season you trust harder, walk bolder, speak louder. This is the season you act like it's already done. Because if God called you, then no fear, no doubt, no obstacle has the power to stop you. Unless you let it, and you won't. Because now you know fear is a test. Doubt is a distraction, but your purpose, that's divine. And when you partner with the divine, you become unstoppable. Let's talk about another illusion that keeps people stuck, the illusion of titles. We've been trained, almost programmed, to believe that titles determine value: manager, director, CEO, doctor, pastor, influencer. As if what's printed on a business card could possibly define the depth of your identity. But here's what no one tells you: titles are temporary, but calling is eternal. Titles can be given and taken. They can be printed and stripped, but your purpose? That was written into your soul before you ever took your first breath. You are not your title. You are not your role. You are not your label. You are the assignment. The world may recognize your title, but heaven recognizes your impact. So let me ask you, have you been chasing titles to feel worthy? Have you been defining yourself by what you do instead of who you are? Because here's what happens when you chase titles instead of purpose. You burn out trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention. You wear masks to be accepted in places you weren't even called to enter. You lose yourself climbing ladders that were never meant for you. And worst of all, you trade divine alignment for temporary applause. But when you live from calling, everything changes. You stop trying to become somebody. You start becoming the man God already said you are. You stop chasing recognition. You start chasing revelation. You stop performing for attention. You start operating from assignment. And when you live from that place, you're dangerous. Because no one can strip away what God put inside you. You become unshakable, undistracted, unstoppable. Let me remind you, Jesus didn't walk around with a title. He wasn't called CEO of Heaven Inc., but he changed the world. David was a shepherd boy, no resume, no title. But he had oil on his life. He had calling. Joseph was a prisoner before he was a ruler. Moses was a fugitive before he became a leader. None of these men started with status. They started with faithfulness. And that's what qualifies you: faithfulness, obedience. A willingness to show up in the field when nobody's watching. To serve in the shadows before anyone knows your name. Because greatness is forged in obscurity. Impact is born in the hidden place. And the man who honors his calling in the quiet is the one who carries weight when the spotlight comes. So stop measuring your success by your LinkedIn title. Start measuring it by your obedience to the call. Ask yourself, am I serving well where I am? Am I faithful in the small things? Am I becoming the man who can carry what I've been asking for? Because God is not preparing the promise for you, He's preparing you for the promise. That preparation often happens behind the scenes, in jobs you don't love, in roles that feel too small, in seasons that feel silent. But those places are the gym for your soul. That's where endurance is built. That's where character is shaped. That's where your identity is forged. So stop despising the season you're in. You may not love the title, but if you embrace the assignment, you'll grow in ways you can't even imagine. Because every title is temporary, but every act of obedience builds something eternal. Let's shift gears again, because there's another trap that keeps people limited, thinking your calling has to look a certain way. We've romanticized purpose. We think it has to be big, loud, impressive. But purpose isn't always flashy. Sometimes purpose looks like showing up when no one thanks you. Sometimes purpose looks like parenting your children with patience and prayer. Sometimes purpose looks like creating something no one sees yet, or staying faithful in a job that's training your character for what's next. Purpose is not a platform. It's a posture. It's not about fame. It's about faithfulness. It's not about what the world sees. It's about what God builds in secret. You may never be famous, but you can be faithful. And in the kingdom of God, faithfulness is success. So don't let the pressure of performance pull you out of position. Your calling might not come with applause, but it will come with impact. Because impact is eternal. That conversation you had that shifted someone's mindset? That act of kindness that reminded someone they matter? That consistency that gave someone hope? That's purpose, that's kingdom work. And that's what you were made for. Don't minimize it just because it doesn't go viral. Don't devalue it just because it doesn't pay six figures. Don't abandon it just because it's hard. Your purpose is not measured by metrics. It's measured by obedience, by consistency, by excellence in the ordinary, because when you do small things with great love, heaven takes notice. And when heaven takes notice, doors open that no man can shut. So here's the question: can you stay faithful when it's not glamorous? Can you show up when it's inconvenient? Can you lead without a title? Can you serve without a spotlight? Because that's where the anointing lives, not in the fame, in the faithfulness, not in the status, in the service, not in being seen, in being sent. And you've been sent, my friend. You've been positioned, you've been prepared. You've been preserved for such a time as this. So stop disqualifying yourself because your life doesn't look like someone else's highlight reel. God doesn't anoint imitation. He anoints authenticity. And the most powerful thing you can do is be fully you. Not a version of someone else. Not an echo of culture. Not a copy of success. But a man surrendered to purpose. That's where power lives. That's where provision flows. That's where peace resides. So take a deep breath, look in the mirror, and remember, you are not your title. You are your assignment, and your assignment is sacred. So walk in it boldly. Faithfully, fully. Now let's get real about something else most people avoid: waiting seasons. We don't like to wait. We want fast success, instant clarity, quick results. We want the breakthrough now, but God doesn't operate on our timeline. And if you're in a season where things feel slow, quiet, or unclear, don't assume something's wrong. Sometimes the delay is the development. Before David ruled the throne, he served in the field. Before Joseph wore the robe of royalty, he wore the robe of a prisoner. Before Jesus launched his ministry, he lived in obscurity. Why? Because waiting seasons build the weight you'll need for the next level. If you rush the process, you won't be able to carry the promise. God isn't just interested in getting you there, He's interested in making sure you're ready when you arrive. And readiness isn't about confidence, it's about capacity. Your calling has a cost. It requires strength, discipline, emotional maturity, spiritual awareness. So if God has you waiting, it's not punishment. It's preparation. And while you wait, you don't waste. You work, you build, you serve, you grow, because the man who's faithful in the field will be trusted with the kingdom. Stop asking, when is it going to happen? Start asking, who am I becoming while I wait? That's the real assignment. Your waiting season is not a void, it's a vault. God is storing up wisdom, clarity, experience, and growth that you'll need later. Every unseen act of faithfulness matters. Every private moment of discipline counts. Every tear cried in the quiet will be answered in the open. So don't despise the silence. The silence is sacred. It's in the silence that God shapes you. It's in the silence that your roots go deep. Because fruit can't grow without roots. And if you want long-lasting fruit, peace, prosperity, impact, purpose, then you need deep roots of character and conviction. Let the roots grow. Let the process shape you. Let the waiting season become your winning season. You see, the world celebrates what's visible, but God rewards what's faithful. So be faithful when no one's clapping. Be faithful when no one's watching. Be faithful when the results are slow, because the man who's consistent in the dark is the one who shines in the light. Let's be clear, your calling isn't on pause just because your circumstances are quiet. Your obedience still matters. Your gifts still work. Your mission is still alive. So instead of scrolling and comparing, start sharpening your tools. Write, plan, pray, train. Invest in the man you're becoming. The version of you that can handle what you've been praying for won't be formed in the spotlight, it'll be formed in secret. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Let your growth be private. Let your consistency be quiet. Let your faithfulness speak for you. Because when the time is right, God will bring you forward. Not your marketing, not your networking, not your branding. God, He'll put your name in rooms you've never entered. He'll open doors you didn't knock on. He'll align you with opportunities you didn't chase because you were faithful, and faithfulness is always rewarded. Now let's talk about the pressure to perform. It's loud, isn't it? This pressure to show up big, to always be on, to look like you've got it all figured out. It's exhausting. And it's not sustainable. Because performance is about perfection, but purpose is about presence. God didn't call you to impress, He called you to impact. And you don't need a stage to do that. You don't need a viral moment. You just need to be present in the assignment you've been given. Fully there, fully engaged, fully surrendered. Because when your heart is present, your impact multiplies. You don't need to be polished, you need to be authentic. You don't need to be famous, you need to be faithful. You don't need to go viral, you need to go deep. That's where lasting success comes from. It's not in performance, it's in presence. It's in showing up consistently, humbly, quietly until the world can't ignore what God has been building in you. So breathe, release the pressure to perform. God's not grading your life like a report card. He's not impressed by metrics. He's looking for maturity. And maturity shows up in the man who stays the course. Who doesn't quit? Who doesn't bend his values just to fit in? Who doesn't trade his assignment for applause? That's you. You've come too far to go back. You've grown too much to stay small. You've endured too many battles to shrink now. This is your season to walk fully in who you are. Not the polished version, the present version. Because the man who is fully present is more powerful than the man trying to be perfect. And the world is starving for presence. So show up real, show up raw, show up ready. Let them feel your fire. Let them see your faith. Let them watch you grow slowly, steadily, unapologetically. And as you grow, as you serve, as you wait, something powerful is happening inside you. Your capacity is expanding, your character is deepening. Your confidence is quieting the noise, you're becoming unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got anchored. Anchored in truth, anchored in identity. Anchored in calling, you no longer flinch when things don't go as planned. You no longer fold when challenges arise. You no longer doubt when the process stretches you. You rise, you respond, you reset. Because this isn't just a journey anymore, it's a mission. You've stopped asking, can I do it? You've started declaring, I am doing it. Not perfectly, but faithfully, not flawlessly, but fully. Because you've realized that the most powerful man in the room isn't the one with the best suit, the biggest following, or the loudest voice. It's the one with the deepest conviction, the clearest purpose, the quietest confidence, and that man? That's who you're becoming. Let's talk about vision, because once you start walking in your calling, once you get serious about purpose, you're going to need more than motivation. You're going to need vision. Vision is your internal compass. It's the picture in your heart that guides your hands. It's what keeps you anchored when life gets chaotic. It's what keeps you focused when distractions come. And here's the truth, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack vision. Without vision, you drift, you react. You live by default, not design, but when you have vision, you live by intention. You stop waking up hoping today will be different to decide it will be. You stop waiting for permission to move with conviction. Because vision isn't just what you see, it's what you believe. And belief is a force that reshapes your life. Scripture says, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's not just about society, that's about you. Without vision, your gifts perish. Your time perishes, your energy perishes. Your potential perishes. But when you have a clear vision, everything changes. You become dangerous to every limitation that once held you back. You become focused, disciplined, driven not by pressure, but by purpose. So here's the question, what's your vision? Not what's your dream job, not what's your 5-year plan. But what is the impact you want to create with your life? What do you want your existence to mean? Because vision isn't just about what you achieve, it's about what you build. What you shift, what you leave behind. Vision asks, what will they say when I'm gone? And if that question feels too big, start smaller. Ask, what will my children say about me? What will my friends say they felt when I entered a room? How will the people I serve be different because I showed up with purpose? Those answers, that's vision, and once you clarify it, protect it. Because vision will always be tested. It will be tested by distraction, by delay, by doubt. By people who can't see what you see. And if you're not careful, you'll start shrinking your vision to match their limitations. But hear me, if God gave you the vision, you don't need their validation. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their permission. You were not assigned to convince them, you were assigned to build it. Even if they laugh, even if they doubt, even if they leave, keep building. Because every great builder has had to lay bricks while people threw stones. Let them throw. You stay focused, you stay faithful. You stay in the fight. Vision requires sacrifice. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you some relationships. It will cost you ease. But it will pay you in purpose, peace, and legacy. And that payment, it lasts because trends fade, opinions shift. But a man of vision, he outlasts them all. That's why you have to move different. You can't afford to waste energy anymore. You can't afford to stay stuck in cycles that don't serve your future. You can't afford to keep asking small-minded people for advice about a God-sized vision. Protect it, nurture it, water it every day with action. Speak life over it every morning. Guard it like it's sacred because it is. And here's the key, your vision must turn into decisions. You can't just dream, you must do, write the plan. Set the boundary, cut the excuse. Choose the discipline. Build the routine, show up with focus. Because dreaming without doing is deception, but doing without vision is disaster. You need both clarity and consistency, faith and follow-through. And if you're serious about becoming the man who lives on purpose, then it's time to align your habits with your vision. Start asking every day, does this thought align with my vision? Does this habit support my assignment? Does this relationship help me grow or keep me stuck? Because alignment creates acceleration. When everything in your life is pulling in the same direction, momentum kicks in. You start moving faster, doors open easier. Resources appear quicker, not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. And alignment is magnetic. You attract what you're aligned with. That's why mindset matters. That's why language matters. That's why environment matters. Because you're always becoming, the only question is, who are you becoming like? So choose wisely, be around people who make you sharper. Who challenge your thinking, who call out your greatness. Who don't let you settle for average. Because you're not building a hobby, you're building a calling. You're not playing small, you're preparing for impact. So move with weight, move with awareness. Move like every step matters because it does. Even the unseen steps, even the quiet days. Even the moments when no one is watching. That's where real vision is tested, not when the crowd's cheering, but when you're building in silence. And if you can stay faithful in this silence, if you can keep showing up when it's not glamorous, if you can push through the resistance and ignore the noise, you will wake up one day in the very future you used to dream about, not by accident, by intention. Because you chose to live with vision when others were just reacting to life. You chose to walk by faith when others walked by fear. You chose to build when others just talked. And that choice, it changes everything. So here's your reminder, you don't need perfect conditions. You don't need all the answers. You just need to start and not stop. You don't need more time. You need more clarity. You don't need a sign. This is your sign. This is your moment. This is your season. Vision is waiting. Calling is calling. Purpose is present. So decide. Build, focus, execute. Because your life is too important to live on autopilot. And your calling is too sacred to treat casually. So treat it like it matters because it does, and when you do, the world will feel the shift because when one man steps into his vision, generations change. Let's land this. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just about motivation. This is about transformation. This is about stepping into the version of you that's been waiting behind layers of doubt, fear, distraction, and comfort. And that version of you, he's not average. He's not reactive. He's not afraid to be great. He's disciplined. He's dangerous. He's ready. You've heard the call. You've seen the signs. And now you've got a decision to make. Will you keep living like life is random? Or will you walk like every step has meaning? Because the truth is you don't need more information. You need more execution. You don't need another pep talk. You need a standard. You need to decide who you are, how you move, and what you will no longer tolerate. Because the man who wins in this life isn't the one who knows the most. It's the one who acts on what he knows. So act like your vision matters. Act like your time is valuable. Act like your family's future depends on your discipline because it does. This is legacy work now. And legacy doesn't start someday, it starts today. It starts with the decision to no longer betray yourself for temporary comfort, to no longer shrink your voice to stay likable, to no longer hide your gift because others feel uncomfortable around greatness. You weren't built to fit in. You were built to stand up, to be light, to lead with love and boldness, to show others what it looks like when a man walks in full alignment with who God made him to be. That doesn't mean you'll be perfect. It means you'll be consistent. It means when you fall, you get back up. When you miss a step, you adjust. When you feel tired, you remember your why. You hold the line. You stay in the fire. Because nothing about you was designed to be mediocre. And that's why mediocrity doesn't feel right in your spirit anymore. You've outgrown it. You've outgrown gossip. You've outgrown laziness. You've outgrown indecision, overthinking, excuses, complaining, and blaming. You've outgrown cycles that steal your peace. You've outgrown conversations that shrink your potential. You've outgrown the version of you that just wanted to get by. Because getting by is not your portion. You weren't called to survive, you were called to thrive. To build, to lead, to leave something behind. And that's why you've been feeling the tension lately. That pull inside you, that's not confusion. That's evolution. You're evolving into the man who walks in rooms and changes atmospheres. Into the man who speaks with clarity, moves with peace, and leads with integrity. Into the man who doesn't need to raise his voice to command respect because his presence speaks for him. That's who you are now, and yes, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you comfort. It's going to cost you shallow relationships. It's going to cost you scrolling through your life instead of building it. But the cost is nothing compared to the calling. Because when you finally say yes fully, completely, unapologetically, life begins to align, not perfectly, but powerfully. You'll start attracting people who see your value without you needing to explain it. You'll start noticing resources showing up right when you need them. You'll start recognizing that the things you used to chase are now chasing you. Not because you're lucky, but because you're locked in. And locked-in men, they are unstoppable. So from this moment on, walk like it's already done. Speak like you're already appointed. Plan like the promise is guaranteed. Because when God gives you a word, no delay, no detour, no doubt can cancel it. You don't need more signs. You are the sign. You're evidence of what happens when a man stops waiting for opportunities and starts becoming the opportunity. When a man stops asking for favor and starts walking in favor. When a man stops renting his identity and starts owning his assignment. So walk tall, speak life. Protect your mind, build your body. Guard your time, master your gifts. Lead with love. This isn't a season for hesitation. It's a season for execution. It's time to move like your life is the answer to someone else's prayer because it is. And when you live like that selflessly, purposefully, powerfully, you don't just change your life. You change the world around you. You become a walking permission slip for others to rise too. Because every time one man rises in purpose, it gives others the courage to do the same. That's why this work matters. That's why this calling is sacred. So say yes to discomfort. Yes to discipline. Yes to faith. Yes to building what only you can build. And never forget, the fact that you're still here means you're not finished. There's still more in you, still more to create, still more to lead, still more to give. And your life, your one and only life, is not a random experiment. It's a divine assignment, so treat it that way. Live like it matters because it does. And the world is waiting for what only you can bring.